Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 11 of the She Is Unleashed podcast. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we are almost at the end of season 3. It has been a phenomenal journey. I believe that even as I record these podcasts, God is working with me, that He is teaching me so much as I share with you, ladies, what God is teaching me. And I pray that something of what has been said over the last 10 weeks, this is week 11, has blessed you in some way or the other, and that God continues to impact your leadership journey in ways that are beyond even my wildest imagination. All right, so today we are talking about overcoming the fear of visibility. And it's so funny that we talk about this because literally my business coach talked about us being more visible. And over, if you've noticed a shift in our email marketing or our email messages and just in our posts, she has encouraged us to really step out into the light and be more vulnerable and to show up in more authentic ways and to allow ourselves and push ourselves and challenge ourselves to be more visible and to allow us to be seen more so, to allow God to be seen in and through us. So, today we're going to talk about this fear of being seen, that even though you may be that high professional, that person that is in a high level of leadership, known, well renowned, an expert in your field, most of us are still in places of hiding. We are still afraid of being visible and stepping into our God-given purpose and identity. For many of us, we have many reasons. Maybe because our fear of being visible is associated with this understanding that when we step into the light, it means that literally the spotlight is on us. And so that means we're open to more critique, we're open to more judgment, more criticism. It means that literally every aspect of our whole entire lives is brought into the light. And some of us are scared. We're scared. I know that I have been in many ways that my imperfections, my flaws will become more visible, and that will make me more vulnerable and open to attack and being hurt by other people. But I believe that in this season, when we learn to walk with integrity and we learn to walk in the genuineness of who God created us to be, not only will we show up with more power and authority, but we will also make a greater impact in the lives of other people. Most people identify not with all our greatness and all our achievements, but with the areas of vulnerability and weakness that we allow God to work through in our lives. So, we're going to talk about this fear of visibility. We're going to talk about the fear of stepping into your God given platforms and the fear of being fully seen. So I'm wondering if you've ever thought, what if people will judge me? What if I fail in front of everyone? And what if I'm not as qualified as others? What if I succeed and can't handle the pressure? I once had this conversation with a group of young men that I was mentoring a couple of years ago. And I would often ask this question. Oh, I'll ask a lot of questions. And they would say, "You're always asking these questions." And I asked this person why they often found themselves self sabotaging in areas of their growth and their leadership. And they said to me, they said, my fear is that if I show up in excellence in this area, that perhaps people will see what I'm actually capable of. And when they see what I'm actually capable of, I'll be expected to show up in that way all the time. And that means that there will be no room to make mistakes. There will be no room to not show up fully. If people know what I'm truly capable of, that means I'm going to have this pressure to constantly show up with excellence in all areas of my life. And I don't know if I can handle it. So let me just not show up at all. Let me not even give them a sense or a taste of who I truly am, so that the pressure is not there. Many of us are showing up in that way where we're failing to show up and we're failing to allow ourselves to fully step into the light and embrace our voice and embrace that those spaces of authority, those spaces of influence and impact that God is calling us to, because we're afraid of the pressure that is associated with allowing people to fully see our light. If that sounds like you, I know it's for me, then this episode is definitely for you. In Matthew 5, verse 14, it says, "You are the light of the world, a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden. Sis, you were never meant to hide. I know I was never meant to hide, but I have been hiding for a very long time. In this specific season of my life, God is challenging me to step out of places of comfort, step out of places of invisibility, step out of places where I have wanted to blend in and just be the one in the background pushing other people forward. God is definitely challenging me to show up in ways that are more powerful and impactful than I've never been challenged before. Sis, you were never meant to play small. You were never meant to shrink your impact because of fear. And today we're going to, in Jesus' name, break the cycle of fear, self doubt, and hesitation so that you can boldly step into the platform that God has assigned to you. So go ahead and grab your journal, your Bible, your tea, or your coffee because we're about to activate your voice, your presence, and your impact. Come on, sis, let's go. So let's start out today by talking about why we are afraid to be seen. I'm saying we because I know this includes me. Let's start at the root of this fear. Why are so many of us afraid to be fully seen? And I'm not saying just being seen in one aspect of our lives, but actually the fullness, the totality of who we are. Why are we afraid of being seen in that context? Here are three major fears that often keep us from stepping into places of visibility. Number one, it is the fear of judgment. What will people think of me? If they truly knew who I was, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what will they think of me? And what will they say about me? We worry about negative opinions, we worry about criticism, and we worry about even losing relationships and friendships. Listen, sis, people are already talking. Whether you like it or not, they're already talking. The question is, will you live by their words or by God's? And here's the thing, we never pay any of our bills by what people say about us. The truth is, God is our provider, God is our protector, God is the one that has literally created us and positioned us in the spaces that He's calling us to for such a time as this. The second fear, first one is fear of judgment, the second one is the fear of failure. What if I step out and it doesn't work? We are afraid to publicly fail. In Proverbs 24, verse 16, it says, though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Let me tell you this. Failure in one form or the other is inevitable. We cannot avoid it. We cannot hide from it. But here's the thing. Failure is not fatal. It does not mean it's the end of the world. It's the end of your life. It's the end of your leadership journey. It's just part of the journey. But if we learn to truly learn from those experiences, failure does not have to be the end. It does not have to be final and fatal. It can merely be feedback. This didn't work, so what can I try next? All right. So let's address that fear of failure. I know it's scary. I know it comes with a whole bunch of emotions attached to failing. Y'all, I have failed so many times. I wish I could sit here. I could write a whole book of the many, many times in which I have both personally and publicly failed. And some of those failures could not be hidden. They were just there for everyone to see. And here's the thing, people may remember, they may talk about it for a minute, but they always move on to the next wonderful gossip, right? So here's the thing, even if you have failed publicly, that is not the end of your story. What you do with that failure, that's the key. The third component that we are often using as a crutch or a reason to not step fully into visibility is the fear of success. We wonder, what if I step into this and I can't handle it? Some of us are overwhelmed by what success means and what stepping into visibility means. If I really grow this, if I really do everything that God has placed in my heart to do, it means that it comes with so much responsibility, so much expectation, so much pressure. And it means I'm responsible not just for myself, but for so many other people. For a lot of us, it is easier for us to align ourselves with other people's visions and assignments where we're not fully responsible for everything because we're terrified of the pressure and the overwhelm that comes with carrying the full capacity of the vision. I don't know about you, but being responsible for 2 people versus 80 people is a whole lot different. It's a whole different ball game. But here's the thing, I want to remind you too, that God has been preparing you this whole time, that He will not ever throw you in the deep end simply for the fun of it, but He wants you to recognize that He's already built into the very fiber of your existence, everything that you need to succeed in this area, in this arena that He has called you to step into. In Luke 12, verse 48, it says, "To whom much is given, much will be required." That can be both a blessing and a curse. For some of us, we're like, yay, I get to have more territory. For some of us, it means that if I have more territory, I have to plow it, I have to plant it, I have to harvest it. It's a whole lot, it's a big difference. It's a whole different ball game when we just have to gather manna. And now we have a whole land to plow, we have harvest to bring in, we have a whole bunch more responsibility that often comes with the fulfillment of the promise. So some of us self-sabotage and we shrink back and we don't step into the land of promise because the responsibility, the expectation, and the pressure of that is feels like it is too much. Let me tell you this again: God would not call you to it if He hadn't already equipped you for it. He's been preparing you this whole entire time. I want you to take a moment right here and hit pause on the podcast and write down in your journal two things. What fear is holding you back the most right now? Is it the fear of judgment? Is it the fear of failure? Or is it the fear of success? And what platform, number two, what platform has God placed on your heart but you've been avoiding? What spaces of leadership and influence and visibility and impact has God been calling you to? And maybe doors that He's been opening before you, but you've been hesitating and you've been avoiding those spaces because of one of these three fears, or maybe all three of them. Here's the truth, sis: your platform really isn't about you. It's about the people that God has called you to serve. So take a moment right here and write down which of these three, and maybe it might be again all three of them, have been crippling you and paralyzing you and preventing you from stepping up into those platforms and spaces that God has been calling you to step into. The second component that I want us to look at is why visibility, shining, is a kingdom assignment. Listen, sis, your visibility, my visibility, it is not optional. It is an assignment from God. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, it says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Sis, your voice is an answer to someone's prayer. Your message is the breakthrough that somebody needs. Your obedience to show up boldly is the permission somebody else needs to step forward. Think about it this way. What if Esther had stayed hidden? In Esther chapter 4, verse 14, Mordecai reminds her that perhaps you have been brought to this place for such a time as this, for the deliverance of your people. It isn't about you that you've been placed in that palace. It isn't about you that you have access to all these resources and to the ear of the king. You were brought to this place for his purpose. It is not about you. What if Moses had let self doubt stop him? He had a whole bunch of excuses, a whole lot of reasons why God should choose somebody else besides him. In Exodus chapter 4, verse 10, he says to the Lord, he says, "I'm slow of speech, I stutter, Lord. Maybe you could pick somebody else to be your spokesperson." But God says, "No, I've appointed you, I've chosen you, I've prepared you for this. I'm choosing you. I'll give you some support. I'll put people in your circle to walk with you, but the assignment is still yours." And what if Jesus had refused to step into his public ministry with the full understanding that his assignment included a cross? It included death and sacrifice. And especially as we go into Holy Week this week, this is so monumental. What if Jesus had said no to the assignment to shine and show up and be everything that he was created and brought into this world to be? You and I would never be saved. You and I would not have this gift of eternal life. You and I would not be able to be restored in our relationship with God the Father. It is so important that we recognize that visibility as a child of God, as one called by God and appointed by God, is not optional. It is an assignment. Visibility is not about you, but it is about God moving through you. All we really have to do is be available to God for God's purposes and let him move through us. Let me ask you this: What would happen if you stopped hiding? Can you imagine if you stepped into and embraced fully everything that God says you are and everything that He's calling you to step into? What would happen? Whose lives would be impacted by your obedience? Who is waiting on you to step into that place of obedience? You don't even know whose lives, whose destiny, whose healing, whose freedom is attached to your obedience. Sis, you are not showing up for the applause of people, but you are showing up for an assignment. At the end of the day, we want to hear Him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." It really isn't about what people think about us. I know it's easier said than done, but it really isn't about what people think about us. It is really not about whether or not they think we're good enough. It is literally our obedience to God because He said so. The last component that I want us to explore on this component of visibility is how can I step boldly into the spaces and platforms that God is calling me to show up more in, to be more visible in. Now that we've addressed the fears, and we've seen why it is absolutely necessary for us to step into these spaces, let's talk about how we can step into it boldly. Remember too that courage and boldness is not the absence of fear, but it is doing it anyway. It's recognizing that it's not by might nor by power, but by His Spirit that we're able to fully embrace the assignments that God has given us. Your voice is needed, sis. Here are 3 steps that we can use to overcome fear and step into visibility. Number 1, own your story without apology. Your testimony carries power, so stop watering it down to make other people comfortable. Your shame, your guilt, your disgrace, whatever it is, your victories and your successes, it is not again about you, but it's about what God can do, what God has done, what God will do through your witness and your testimony. Your sharing your story is helping somebody else know that if God can do it for you, He can do it for them as well. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, it says, "They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." Your testimony, your story literally has so much power. That's why the enemy is trying to silence you and rob you of it, because there's so much power in your story. I want to challenge you this week to share a part of your journey with somebody on social media, in a conversation, or in a group setting. I'll give you a personal testimony on this myself. Just over the last several weeks, just sharing my own personal journey and my own vulnerabilities, I have received so much more feedback in the last several weeks when I have become more vulnerable and authentic with sharing my story and my experiences. It doesn't have to be something mega or big. It just has to be truth, and it has to be your story and your testimony. Your testimony and your story is what sets you apart from the others. Don't try to copy anybody. Don't try to be anybody else but yourself. There are people that are specifically assigned to you and to your life and your story. Embrace your testimony, sis. Secondly, take the first step, even if you're not ready, even if you feel like you're not ready, because again, God has been preparing you this whole time. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be obedient. Faith moves first, clarity flows. A lot of us are stuck in this place where we're waiting for clarity, or we're waiting to have all our ducks in a row. We're waiting to have the full picture, but God is saying, go ahead, take action, record the video, apply for the opportunity, send the email, just go ahead and start and watch God move. By you taking that first step into your Jordan, the waters will begin to move, doors will begin to open as you obey God. Faith moves first and clarity follows. The third step in this process is surround yourself with expanders. Surround yourself with people who are constantly challenging status quos, people that are constantly growing and advancing. Your environment will either shrink you or stretch you. Find mentors, coaches, faith-driven women who will normalize success and visibility. Again, who you surround yourself with is so important. In Proverbs 27, verse 17, it says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." Fear does not get to dictate your future, sis. Your time is now, and your voice is absolutely needed. Y'all, this was so powerful. I've been speaking to myself even as I say this. Like I said, my own coaches have been challenging me to show up more, to be more visible, to stop hiding, to stop shrinking, to stop feeling like my voice and my story and my testimony is not needed. God needs your voice. Sis, you are done playing small. You are done hiding, and you are stepping into God, your God-given platform with confidence and boldness. This week, I want to challenge you to: one, name the platform or space that you've been avoiding. Two, take one visible step this week, whether it's posting something, sharing something, speaking, applying, or launching that thing that God has been placing in your heart and your spirit to do. And thirdly, declare, I am seen, I am chosen, and I am ready. Y'all, today, tonight, I am kicking off a 7-day boot camp, and we are literally going into how we can unleash our leadership potential as women of God. And I am opening up the doors for the She's Unleashed Collective in the next couple of weeks, and I want you to be a part of that. We have the 8-week Unleash Leadership Accelerator. You can be a part of that. And we have the She's Unleashed Collective, a mastery and momentum coaching and mentorship program that is literally designed to help propel you into your next level of leadership, to help you show up and be more visible, to stop shrinking, to stop hiding, but to literally become everything that God has declared you are from the beginning of time, before you even stepped foot into this world. And again, if you look in the footnotes of this show, you will find links to some free resources where you can learn more about how you can empower yourself and begin to declare over yourself God's truth instead of the lies of the enemy. If this episode has blessed you, if anything in this resonates with you, please drop a comment in the chat, or please go ahead and email us. Let us know how these podcasts and these episodes have been blessed in your life. What do you want to hear more of? How can we serve you? And how can we be a blessing in your life? Sis, it is time for you to step up fully into your light. No more hesitation, no more shrinking, no more fear. Just show up boldly, and I'll see you in the next episode. It is going to be a phenomenal next couple of weeks. God bless you, and see you next week.